You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society.
In Disney.
Well, hello out there. My name is Rick Farron, and welcome in. Welcome into our first program of the night here at the Six Screens Live. You know what we do here? I mean, I'll just say it for the sake of new ones listening in. What we do is we expose the Watchtower organization. And friends, right now, they are in deep trouble all over the world. More and more countries are catching up on the nasty tactics, the evil deeds of the Watchtower. So we'll be exposing those tonight. Now, we have a woman coming in, and she's a former Jehovah's Witness from Northern California. Her name is Anne Marie. So let's welcome Anne Marie in. Hello, Anne Marie.
Hello, my brother Rick. How are you and Susan doing today, this wonderful Six Screen Saturday?
Well, you know, we always say it's a wonderful day up here, and it is. I have to say it. I know people say, come on, Rick, why do you keep saying that? You're just phoning it up. I'm not. It's beautiful up here this time of year in New England, and I hope it's nice where you are. In fact, I see that out west it's so hot. Maybe soon it'll cool down for you guys a little bit and get a little break. It's so hard when it's that hot. Has it been hot out where you are, Anne Marie?
Yes, it has, but not unbearably so because we're a little bit closer to the coast. But it is beautiful, no chemtrails, the birds are singing. We have a new little black fur squirrel visiting us, and I have my great-granddaughters. It's a good day, my brother.
Well, there you go, Anne Marie. Well, always looking forward to your program. So anything in particular you're going to kind of do tonight or ask some questions about or discuss? What do you think?
Well, I would like to do a show basically on judgment. Are we judgmental? Has being a Jehovah's Witness, caused us to maybe be more judgmental than normal people? That's my theme.
Well, I think that theme is appropriate. I'm wondering, well, we'll get into that in the news tonight, but they got the annual meeting coming up, Anne Marie. And there have been rumors. Now, the annual meeting for the Jehovah's Witnesses, I should say. Now, they do that the first Saturday in October. So that's only a month or so away, less than a month, really. And, you know, there's all kinds of rumors. Rumors are floating around all over the place. Have you heard anything?
Well, I've heard that things are going to be not quite as what you might say normal as others, because there are too many people that are not as comfortable with the whole situation as they have been in the past. And I have a feeling that some SHIT just might hit somebody's fan.
Well, there's all kinds of rumors floating around about maybe they're going to celebrate birthdays. That's a rumor now. I'm not saying it's just what I'm hearing. I'm also hearing that, they're just going to have one meeting a week. That's another rumor I'm hearing. And so it's kind of interesting, but wouldn't it be nice if they had a rumor, or at least if it was a fact, that Jehovah's Witnesses weren't going to be judgmental anymore? Ties right with your subject, right?
Well, judgmentalism and shunning tend to be two, let's just say, staples of being in the Watchtower organization. I can't see either one of them getting left behind anytime soon.
Well, you know, I find that subject, I'm glad you brought this up because, you know, we have a man that comes on Six Screens Sunday, and he's really knowledgeable in the scriptures. His name is Jay Hess. And, you know, he loves to talk about the scriptures and talk about God. And, you know, he says right outright, you know, I'm not going to judge. I am not the judge. You know, God is the judge of all things. And he makes that very clear as he does his program. But, you know, who really gives the Watchtower a right to be so judgmental? It certainly wasn't given to him by God, because God says he'll do the judging. But the Watchtower takes it that they have to do the judging. I mean, they will judge you from the cradle to the grave, Anne Marie, as we all know. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Huh?
And they tend to be so cold and self-righteous when they do that. And they also tend to cause the one that they're criticizing and judging to feel so small and unworthy.
Yeah, well, I'll chime in tonight too, because I'm sure you're probably going to ask, have you ever been judged over something stupid? I mean, I've heard in the last 20 years, of doing this program, I've heard of some pretty crazy, outrageous judgment that has been cast on individual Jehovah's Witnesses without any credibility, without any substance. They just seem to love to judge people. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I have a couple stories, and I'm assuming, since I have at least 3, actually 4, that a lot of our listeners during the show will actually remember a story themselves of being judged. And judgment usually includes somebody that just judges without stopping to realize they might not know all the facts. Maybe there are things they don't know.
Well, I don't know if you're going to bring it up or not. I don't want to steal your program here, but you got me thinking here on this subject. Now, just in the last, let's say the last 6 months, I forget when it was, we discussed it here on 6 Screens, but in the last 6 months, they're no longer going to be marking. Now, we all know what marking is in the witness world. If you were one of Jehovah's Witnesses, are still one, you know what marking is. Where the elders would mark you as an unsavory witness, kind of a weak witness, not too spiritual. And that message would be sent throughout the whole congregation, and people would avoid hanging around or even speaking with that person. Now what they've done in the last few months here is the judging on who is going to be marked is not going to be done by the elders. The ones who will do it are people in the congregation. This seems weird, but it's truthful. It's a fact. It's not a rumor that the judging for marking will be done by the congregation. So if Sister Sally is leading an unscrupulous life and Sister Mary says to others in the congregation, Sally's leading kind of like a double life, she's not a good witness, well, poor Sally's going to be picked on. They won't invite her to any gatherings. She will be like silently marked, but you'll know that she is. Now that's judging right there to the highest order, Anne-Marie. I'm looking forward to the program, so I'm going to step out and let you do it, okay?
Okay, my brother. And I want to thank you for mentioning marking. If I can just remember the audience real quick, that back in 1968-69, especially after they came out with the May 22nd, 1969 Awake, telling all young ones in the organization that they all had to face the fact that they would not be able to go to school or ever have a career or do this or do that before the end of this old system. Well, real serious marking by individual witnesses in those days began with vengeance. And it was an ugly thing to see, my brother, because there were kids that really wanted to go to college. And even if the parents did not approve of their children going to college, these parents would still be marked as having not done their spiritual job as parents. And if they did approve of their children going to school because, hey, we don't really know when Armageddon's going to come, they were viciously marked. It was an ugly thing to see, my brother. So thank you for bringing up marking, because it looks like they're going in full circle of what they once did. I want to welcome everyone today, this Saturday, our beautiful 6 Screen Saturday. Today is September 7th, 2024. This is the first show of the weekend, touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower. And as I always say, forgive me for repeating myself, but all of us here, all of us listening later in the archives, We were touched in one way or another, to one extent or another, by the tentacles of the Watchtower, because we have been hurt and damaged and twisted and mentally and emotionally traumatized. It was ridiculous. I want to welcome everyone, whether you are just now starting to question if you're still in the Watchtower organization, but beginning to question because you're bothered by things that you've seen and heard. You are a PIMQ, physically in, mentally questioning. I know it's a scary, scary place because you can't really tell anybody that, oh my God, I'm wondering about things. And you also have in your programming, if you start to question or doubt the governing body or anything about the organization, it's been put into your programming that that is evidence of Satan trying to take over your mind. So you have that thought and the thought that you can't talk to anybody. So it's a scary place to be. And we all know we have so many PMOs that are currently in the Watchtower organization. Those are the witnesses that were still physically in, but mentally they're awake. They are out. They are no longer fooled by anything that the Watchtower tries to use to fool all the other ones. They see things the way they are. And it's hard for you guys too, because it's hard to see the evil and the lies and the twisting of scriptures and just to see the hypocrisy. And you just have to keep playing the game, smiling that theocratic smile, because the reason why you're still in the organization is usually because you don't want to lose your wife. You don't want to lose your husband. You don't want to lose your children. You don't want to lose your family or your friends. That's also scary, and we welcome you. And please, all of you know that the 6 screens of the Watchtower, this platform, is a safe place. Anything you have to say or share, comment, or even ask a question, you have listeners here that have been where you are at, and we understand. We are here to listen. We are here to support you. We try to have a theme, something to focus on for each show. And today's theme basically is judgment. And I've been thinking a lot about judgment. I have been told that I'm a judgmental person. And I have to be cognizant of that because I know I am. And I have to just catch myself and catch myself and catch myself. So I just wanted to present the idea, are we judgmental? As being a Jehovah's Witness, a member of the Watchtower organization, especially a very solidly believing member of the Watchtower organization, has being a Jehovah's Witness caused us to be more judgmental than the average person? Personally, I think it has made us more judgmental. And, I started looking up, well, what does it mean to be judgmental? It means basically having a tendency to be excessively critical. And, it hurts to be critical. I don't know about you, but I used to get criticized a lot. My shirt is too low. My skirt is too high. My skirt is too long. Yes, I got criticized for having my skirt too long. I wasn't wearing the right earrings. I didn't have the right tone. I didn't use the right words. I smiled too much. I laughed too loud. Literally, I got criticized a lot. And I remember it hurt. It really hurt. And I'm an adult. I'm thinking, what did it do to children that were picked on? So when or if you refer to somebody else as being judgmental, you are actually being judgmental yourself or critical. And I thought about that and I went, wow, yeah, that's right. Judgmental people tend to jump to their judgments of others without really thinking it through. It's kind of like a knee-jerk reaction of judgment before they take the time to consider that maybe there might be more to the story. There might be things that they don't know that they don't know. Now, this show is for you. So I want to ask anyone listening to please feel free to take the time to hit *6 and share a thought, an idea, something you experienced. *6, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Anne Marie.
Hello.
Hi, Maria Stefan. How are you today?
Well, I'm happy to hear your voice if you want to know the truth, brother.
All righty. I'll tell you a quick story. You talk about how are we touched by the tentacles of Watchtower. I can say all the way up to the present that I still find it uncomfortable to be around people that are categorized by Watchtower as the world. So yesterday we had a company outing, and it was going to a ball game, world famous ball field that everybody, when they come to Illinois, likes to go to. And Anne-Marie, I came up with probably about 20 reasons of why, I wasn't feeling well. I don't feel like putting on clothes. I don't know how to, and I made myself go. I'm like, no, you told these people you're going. So I went, and I just happened to sit when I got there, someplace where as soon as you kind of enter our area, I was like the first person that you see. And I didn't do that deliberately. That's just how it worked out. Everybody came in. Everybody welcomed me. Oh, it's so good to see you. Glad you came. Da, 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 da. One guy who just retired gave me a hug, and I watched him. He didn't hug anybody else the entire night. He gave me a hug. And it occurred to me, here you were going through all this mental gymnastics to get your behind to this event, and you go through and everybody shows you nothing but love. Why did you feel so uncomfortable coming? And when I thought about it, did some self-analysis, it's because we were brainwashed to believe that these people are worldly, they're evil, they're under the control of Satan, the devil, they want to kill us and eat us like cannibals and whatever craziness, we were taught all these years. Yep. And even though I haven't been a witness for, 6, 7 years now, something like that, that's still kind of in the back of your mind. And it's still something that you've got to, overcome and be aware that you're thinking this way because Watchtower brainwashed you for decades. And it's not the truth. Go and experience things. See for yourself that it's not the truth. And I'm telling you, these people showed me nothing but love. So I just wanted to relate that.
Oh, well, Stephen, thank you. Go ahead.
Anne-Marie, I will tell you, this is where Watchtower gets people. They say, well, there's 4 kinds of love. Who's
this?
Kunkel, Mr. Kunkel.
Mr. Kunkel? You trying to make my life difficult?
Yes, King of the Dots. My name is Kunkel. Anyway,
I'm going to call you King of the Dots.
Remember I figured it out. There's 4 types of love: Philia, Eros, Agape, and there's another one. And see, here's where they confuse you, because what he experienced with Watchtower say was agape. Well, it's not agape. That's the familial love, right? It was the brotherly love, yeah. But that's not real Christian love, is what they would tell people. Okay. So you don't want to think that worldly people actually feel love. No, that's just instinctual love, like an animal who licks your face. That's what they did all the time to convince you that, no, we're the only ones who really love you. Those people, that's not real love. And I wanted to say, you are a failure, Anne-Marie. You're very judgmental. But, again, the Bible says, he who judges will be judged. And so, actually, you're fulfilling what the Bible says. We are judging those people now who actually judged us. So, I don't think we're on the wrong side of this, quite frankly. I think we're just getting started on what they're going to suffer in the future from our judgment. Yeah. We're just going to go straight up to heaven.
I'm hearing you, King of the Dots.
I try to confuse you, man. Sorry.
Well, you're not getting very good at it. Well, you're kind of good at it. I will admit.
Well, I'm hoping that I made some success tonight. So
okay.
Hey, Rick never bites. Rick never bites when I say, Rick, ask me a question. Rick doesn't want to ask people questions. Have you noticed that? Do you want to ask me a question?
Do I want to ask you a question?
Yeah. I'm not like Kamala Harris or Tim Waltz. You can ask me a question and I'll answer it.
Okay. So how do you feel about the idea of maybe ex-members and especially members in the Watchtower, tend to be more judgmental and self-righteous while they're being judgmental than the average person?
I think it depends on so many factors. One is, were you raised a witness? Did you leave when you were a teenager? Did you ever get baptized? I mean, see, that's the problem with Watchtower. Everybody's in some different category. There's like a dozen different categories. Was your spouse the witness in the family? Were your kids raised witnesses, and so you stayed in because you wanted to leave, but your kids are in the Kingdom Hall? I mean, the bottom line is this: be an adult, make a decision, an adult decision. And yet we have people who will not leave the Watchtower because they're scared to death to be an adult. And that's what Watchtower wants. Too afraid to make an adult decision. That's the only way
I hear you.
But you are very judgmental, and it's like, I'm telling you, it's like, I cannot, no, I'm kidding with you, I'm joking. You're not very judgmental. I couldn't believe you said you were very judgmental. So I have to punish
go ahead.
I have to punish for saying that. Because you're not.
You're a character.
You're probably the nicest person on there. In fact, Barbara Anderson, if she doesn't go to hell, I don't know if there's any justice in this universe. I'm kidding.
Oh, isn't she precious?
Just tell Barbara I said that. Yeah.
Oh, I am not. I'm not a carrier of tales. However, King of the Dots, I think it's important for myself, to have to look at my own character. We can't control what other people do or say or believe or act or whatever.
It's too late. Aren't you almost 39 years old? I mean, come on. It's a little too late to be looking at this. You are what you are at a certain point in time, you know?
Well, that is true. We are what we are, but I look at myself, especially if somebody treats me unkindly or talks crap about me or lies about me. All I can do is look at myself and say, okay, I'm not upset about that. And now I look at myself, am I being that way? And then all I can do is go to the person and say, let's talk about this. But I'm responsible for my own actions, but I do need to have a clear, be able to see myself clearly as others see you. You know, I don't see myself.
There's two sides to that, Anne-Marie. The way other people see you can be skewered by their own prejudices, unfortunately. And look, I'll give you an example. This is a story that sticks in my throat when I heard it. An elder told me, we would have appointed you a servant earlier, but the person who studied with you, we weren't sure about you because this person studied with you. I said, what the hell does that have to do with anything? And then later, the same elder, a few years later, said, we heard you didn't like this elder conducting the Watchtower study. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, yeah, it was you. And I said, I didn't say nothing of the kind. Where do you get this from? It was my study teacher. So I got tied to this fucking hippie study teacher who had 6 members of his family were in the witnesses. I got tied to him for 20 years. They couldn't make a differentiation between me because I had long hair the first time I came to the meeting. This is what happened to me. This is shallow intellectual thinking on their part, and they couldn't get it out of their head. And actually, in the end, it worked out because it woke me up. These are very low intellectual individuals, and I'm not going to look at their judgmentalism towards me as being correct. Someone considers you judgmental, I consider you very even-keeled. And if they think you're judgmental, tell them to call me up, and I'll tell them the truth.
Okay, my darling.
Tell them the truth. Okay, I'm out of here. Bye-bye.
Well, don't be out of here too long. Thank you for chiming in, King of the Dots. Just real quick, I wanted... Okay, who's this?
It's Nicole.
Oh, Nicole. Is this the second time you called in?
Yes, it is.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. So I want to give my experience of being wrongfully judged and marked. So it was back when I was pioneering, when I was 26. I'm now 54. But when I was 26, there was a brother and a sister, a single brother and a married sister who was having a thing going on, so much so that that married sister and single brother had a child. Well, eventually it got known in the congregation that this married sister and single brother, they were having an affair for quite a while, so much so they had a child, and
Oh boy.
both of them was on the board for being the fellowship, right? But it didn't stop there. Someone in the congregation went and tell a tale about me. Now, I was good friends with these two individuals because they themselves were also regular pioneers. And whoever it was told the elders that I used to babysit for the married sister so that her and her single brother could go and have a fling, you know, have a night out on the town. And so I was called into the cold room by these elders and was about to be removed as a regular pioneer because they got wind that I was babysitting their kid, which was not true. I couldn't babysit anybody's kid in my grandparents' home. It was a no-no. If it wasn't my kid, then I couldn't babysit anybody else's kid. So I was marked for about 6 months. I was eventually removed as a regular pioneer because of this. So because of people not minding their business and running to the elders, spilling a tale just because I was friends with these two individuals, got me marked, judged, and eventually removed from being a pioneer. That's what I wanted to share.
Well, Nicole, that just sounds so immature and mean, and it sounds worse than junior high school. It is just off the hook wrong. And you're such a good person, and you didn't do anything wrong, and yet they're all going to be little busybodies. This whole subject of judgment, the more I thought about it, the more I thought it deeply permeated every facet of our having to do with the Watchtower organization and trying to be a good Jehovah's Witness, because it really did affect us, whether we were being judgmental or others were judging us and talking about us and gossiping about us. I'm so sorry you went through that, Nicole.
That's part of the package of being a Jehovah's Witness. I thought, well, this is how it is, as a witness. If you're friends with an individual and that person gets themselves in any hot water, get themselves in problems, then you also get disciplined because you're friends with that person. That's what I thought because I was young. So it was unfortunate.
Overall, there doesn't seem to be any real fairness when it comes to being judgmental or critical, and especially when they pass judgment to the point where they feel that they have the right to quote unquote punish you through talking about you behind your back, criticizing you to your face, gossiping about you, telling other people, oh, you better stay away from her, she's this, she's that. It is just so wrong. In every way, it's wrong.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Is there anything else you would like to add to that, Nicole?
No, it's just that, just as what that brother said early on, and I think you said it as well, leave all the judging for God. It's already hurtful when you're judged wrongfully by another imperfect person, and then to turn around and go and you yourself do that same type of judging of another person. I say leave everything in God's hands, and
Yeah.
things will work itself out. Yeah, it's not a good thing to be judgmental at all.
You know what, Nicole? You make a lot of sense. You make a lot of sense. Would anybody like to share their thoughts or comments before I continue? Star 6. I wanted to get into some of the characteristics of being a judgmental person, and I wasn't really aware of it because I never really looked at it. Well, today I did. There are certain characteristics of a judgmental person. A judgmental person tends to be overly critical. They tend to be quick to jump to negative conclusions without having all the facts. In other words, they don't take the time to say, okay, this is the way I feel, I'm feeling judgmental, but I recognize I don't know all the facts, so I'm going to hold back on my judgment. Judgmental people just tend to jump in and make their judgment without having all the facts. Also, making negative assumptions. They tend to just assume that whatever their negative assumptions are actually facts. They're actually true just because it looks that way to them, so it must be true. So making negative assumptions without having all the facts is one real characteristic of a judgmental person. I have an example, a big, huge thing that was going around about me. I had children that would literally eat until they threw up, and then they'd say they were hungry. Now, I unfortunately was the same way. When I was a child, my mom told me she was as well. I was the kind of stressed out mother. I took care of my kids. I took care of my responsibilities. I took care of my new baby, and I never ate. I never ate until it was nighttime because it's the only time I could relax. So I could never eat when I couldn't relax. By the time it was the end of the day and we had been to the meeting, the kids had been eating all day. In fact, they had been eating so much, a lot of times their faces were pasty white because they felt sick. And a lot of the brothers and sisters after the Thursday meeting would go to this foster freeze that was owned by the father of a brother in our congregation. And he was very accommodating to the witnesses who came every Thursday after the meeting. And by that time, when we sat down at the table, I would order a huge cheeseburger, a huge order of fries, and a chocolate shake. And I wouldn't order anything for the kids. And I'd be just scumming down because I was starving. The children weren't hungry, but everybody who was watching, not one of them ever asked me, Anne Marie, why is it that you sit there and you order food for yourself, but you order nothing for your children? No one ever, in all the years I was there, ever asked me why. But I got a lot of gossip that I starved my kids, and worse, I forced them to watch me stuff my face while they sat there hungry because they had the saddest faces. And this one sister said, well, I know what the rumor is about Anne Marie, that she doesn't feed her kids, but I'm trying not to be judgmental. I need to see for myself that that's really how it is. So she invited me to dinner at her house with the children. Now, she didn't tell me what her true motive was. I was just so excited that some witness was actually inviting me to their house because it didn't happen very often. This was before I was baptized. I picked up the kids from the daycare where they would be eating huge amounts of food that I could never even eat in 2 days. They were eating tremendous amounts of food. Once again, here it is, the end of the day. They weren't hungry. If they ate one more bite, they'd probably throw up all over the place. So when we were ready to sit down at the table, I told the kids to be good. They were in the ladies' living room, and we all sat down at the table, and the hostess asked me, Anne Marie, aren't you going to have your children sit at the table? And everybody's giving me dirty looks. And I said, no, they've already eaten. And that's when I realized what this all was about. It was a show to see if it was really true that I didn't feed my children. And I was starving. I literally had not had a crumb all day. I just never ate until nighttime. And I very slowly started to eat a bite and a bite, but everybody was just staring at me and I just couldn't eat anymore. And then it was time for dessert and I was helping clear the table and everybody was getting a piece of pie. And I got a very angry, pointed question toward me from the Jehovah's Witness hostess. Aren't you even going to offer your children a piece of pie? So I went into the living room and I said, kids, I know you're not really hungry, but they would really feel better if they could see you eat a little pie. Could you guys eat a little bit? They said, oh, yes, because they love to eat. And I brought them to the table and everybody was looking at each other. Well, at least she's about ready to give them something to eat. And the kids ate maybe 2 bites and they looked at me like I knew what that look was. They were afraid they were going to throw up. I got the feedback later from the latest gossip mill that they were afraid to eat, that I would get mad at them for eating. This is just ridiculous. Why? Because they didn't have the facts. And the other story was this brother had broken up to me right after I had gotten baptized. His brother came after me, said he loved me, fell in love with me, was making all kinds of plans, and then he dumped me. Within 4 weeks, he just decided to dump me. And it broke my heart. Well, I had to go to the health food store. Name of the health food store was Polly Prim, and it was like in a small shopping center. And the parking spot was in the back of all of these stores of the shopping center. So I parked facing Polly Prim, the health food store, and 2 doors over to the right was the grocery store where the Jehovah's Witness man that I had been with worked. He was a produce manager. And, you know, I can't help feeling devastated because as soon as he broke up with me, everybody flocked around him. Oh, we're so glad you were able to escape the clutches of that Anne Marie. And I mean, just nasty, mean things. And they never knew what really happened. And I didn't tell. And I was sitting in the van looking at the Polly Prim nutritional store. And I'm just kind of leaning on the steering wheel, feeling kind of depressed. And of course, I can't help but notice just 2 doors down out of the corner of my eye, the grocery store where my ex-Jehovah's Witness fiance was. Well, the next day was Thursday night. And guess where I got called back to? Yep, you said it, in the back room. I get pulled in front of 3 elders about how I had been seen spying on this brother and stalking him. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they were mad. And we had, one of the brothers said, we heard that you were out there, you were seen by all these people, and he was scared, and they had hidden him in the back of the store, and they were all watching you, staring at him, and they had to wait until you were gone before they could tell him the coast was clear. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? This is just 2 examples. Go ahead. Didn't mean to talk so long. Anybody want to speak? Star 6.
Hi, Anne Marie. This is Steve in New Jersey. How are you?
Steve from New Jersey?
Yes, indeed. Thank you for this
indeed.
beautiful little discussion. I somehow found you on my little YouTube feed, and I have some thoughts you said. And first of all, what a kooky thing. And I'm going to start from the beginning and talk about the good things I got out of it, which is I got a gratitude for life that I carry with me to this day. It's a beautiful day of life. That was my father's prayer every morning. He was probably the sweetest, most beautiful human being that got sucked in to a kooky nonsense that could be. But as far as where I am now, I'm lucky enough that in 1996, when I got out of this joint Jehovah's bullshit, I started taking yoga classes. And one of the things that they did was the dude was like a real guru, and he would offer spiritual uplifting counseling. And one of the first things he said was, do not judge. And that's a practice that I catch in myself. Once I start noticing that I'm making a right, wrong value judgment about another being, I just quickly notice it and let it go. I confront it and say, I may ask myself why I'm doing it, but I try to avoid it. And as for all those stories of those weird things like what you just described, there's so many of them. You all have them, and every once in a while our mind just goes back to them. And it's 30 plus years later now, or almost 30 years later. I just, it hardly even comes to mind. I'm in a profession where I use many of the tools that I learned in Jehovah's Witnesses, which is public speaking and sales, because I'm a salesman. That's what I do for a living. I talk to people about, things that they should acquire, and I help them acquire them and do it as gently as possible. Thank God I never converted anyone to Jehovah's Witnesses, but I made a living for 30 years as a salesman. But regarding judgment, it's something that if we are paying attention to ourselves, let's pay attention. That's what I tell my kids. They're adults now, but they still do it. Pay attention to what is it that we're doing at any given time, and if we're honoring our responsibilities and duties, we focus on what we're doing, and I like to focus on what I'm doing and carry out with the best of my ability all of my duties, and let other people be other people, because that's the only thing they're going to be anyway. And the only thing that my judgment will do is allow their foolishness to occupy my valuable mind, and I don't have any time for that. Sometimes it's not easy, and especially when it comes to the emotional things that resonate with you, and we pick up our pearl clutching moment and say, well, I never. Well, that's when it's the most critical to just, for me, is to let it go, because again, this is the way people are going to be. Yes, we have to defend ourselves, but the best way to defend myself is to keep my distance from foolishness. And every once in a while, I will turn my mind to things of the past, and I'll reflect on it, but I'll do it not with the idea of judgment, because when it comes to those people that are still in it, I always say, that's, like you said before, that's the way they were raised. They were raised to be judgmental. If that's the way they want to do, I feel sorry for their misery. But I am the one who gets to live my life, and therefore I am free from that judgment, which leads to the misery. And that's the way I look at things 30 years later. Any thoughts?
Any thoughts on you? Shoot, plenty. Steve, I'm so glad this is recorded and it's going to be in the archives on YouTube. Everything you said was so, I hate to just say true, but you seem to project and explain and articulate so well the need for, see it for what it is, look at ourselves without judgment, shame, or guilt, but just see ourselves clearly where we need to work on it, because that's what I do every day, all day. When I catch myself saying, especially to my husband when I really lose it, I go back later and say, you know what, I don't like what I said. I was rude. I was disrespectful. That was not okay. All I can do is do my best, but we have to take personal responsibility and to see it clearly for what it is. And I just applaud the way you said it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I do have one question for you. I want to know what happened to Randy Much and water. Help get out of it.
Are you in a car? You're all of a sudden we can't understand you. It's very staticky and shaky.
No, I'm outside. It's a little bit windy, so let me go back inside.
Oh, well, I hear you now.
Good.
I'm just so glad
I was asking one question. Does any know? I lost track of one Randy Waters, famous.
Oh, I did too.
So I would love to find out what happened to him. I know he moved to Texas. He ran into a jam when they sold his house. He was living in Manhattan Beach. But if anyone can find out and relay it back to you, then that would be a great. I would really be happy to know. So that's what's up.
I was close to him, but actually the last person I heard that had any contact with Randy Waters was Rick. And Rick several times had talked to Randy when he could get a hold of him. And Randy had agreed to come on to the 6 Screens, but he has been so emotionally and mentally beat up that he's so fragile emotionally. And he told me, he goes, Anne Marie, I go, I'll be right with you if you come on the show. I'll be right there with you. You won't be alone. But he admitted to me, he says, if I even try to talk, I start shaking, I start crying, I can't control it. And he used to be so strong and powerful. So I would like to find him too. He's just at a very fragile part in his life. And I don't know how to find him again. I know Rick, like I said, has tried several times.
The last I heard, he was like moving to Texas or something, and some dude was mistreating him. But anywho, whatever happens, it is in the. By the way, I spent a little time going to AA meetings at one point. It's funny how many of the same dynamics appeared there, and I finally stopped going just because I noticed this is the same type of attitude that we're describing here that we want to stay away from, which is this judgmentalism. And it's our duty as human beings is to make good use of this brief period of time that we have on this earth, and maybe make somebody smile once in a while, and smile ourselves once in a while, and get some nice achievement of having been of service and created some beauty. And so that allows me to turn away from the negative side. So and things like you help remind me to stay on track doing that. So Anne Marie, I'm really grateful for what you're doing here. Keep up the good work. Stay beautiful.
Well, thank you. And I'm very grateful to you too. And Steve, you're helping a lot of people. And that's what we need, because the damage is really pretty bad. We don't realize the character defects a lot of us have carried, but being cognizant of those character defects without shaming or guilting ourselves, and just see it for what it is. I need to work on that. Oop, I did it again. And just keep working on it. And I really appreciate your comments.
It's my pleasure. Stay beautiful.
You as well. Anyone else like to comment before I try to continue with characteristics of a judgmental person? Star 6, the floor is yours. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, hello, Anne Marie.
Hello.
Okay. First of all, I did get a hold of Jay Close, and he's doing okay. I talked to him last night, as a matter of fact. Doing okay, just holding his own. He's still in a nursing home. He's able to move around now a little bit with some help. His weight's come down a little bit, so he's doing okay there. That's number one. And number two, somebody recently just put out a book, and they come on the Watchtower Society, and they compared the Watchtower Society to a communist dictatorship. I heard an advertisement. I just heard it once on the radio here. And so, number three, I've been listening to your program with interest, and I'll get to the subject matter here that we're talking about. There's churches in the past that restricted their members from, even like the Conservative Caucus of the Mennonites. They restricted their members from even serving on the jury and so forth, because they believed that you had no right to be judgmental of somebody else and so forth, which I give them credit for. I don't necessarily agree with the rules, church rules, but I do give them credit for that. Watchtower Society, on the one on the one side of the coin, will say they're not judgmental, but the minute you get into the Watchtower Society in their studies, they're passing all kinds of judgments, like especially on the other churches and the world and everything else. As a matter of fact, they got only a handful of people, being saved. The vast majority of them is going to be killed, of course, which their own Roman Church writing books say that that's not right, that's wrong to pass judgment on somebody, no matter what the appearance of who they are, But then they turn around, and then I'm going to share just briefly the experience of them being judgmental and drawing conclusions. A friend of mine one time, they got angry at him because he didn't come to the door when they stopped by his place. Well, he was upstairs sleeping. He was under sedation and all that because he had injured his knee. And he come from the doctor and he went right up to bed. And so they were angry at him for that. And they had a little falling out with him on a situation like that. So that's just really ridiculous. Drawing conclusions, and getting angry over something like that and so forth. I don't know what the circumstances were, but they stopped by. He was upstairs sleeping. He was home okay, and then they got angry because he didn't answer the door or something like that. It's really preposterous, if somebody doesn't come to the door, if I go and I stop by somebody's place and everything like that, and somebody doesn't come to the door and all that, I'd like to know why. Maybe he's busy in the back. Maybe he didn't hear me. Possibly he's maybe in bed, not feeling too good and so forth. So yeah, that's that Watchtower Society. That's really preposterous and all that. They claim to have the only true religion, but then they violate the very principles that they claim to represent.
Well, no, that's pretty straight up. That's pretty straight up. Does anyone have any comments on what Ken was saying, or what Steve was saying, or Noel? Star 6? Nicole. I would like to continue with
Anne-Marie?
characteristics. Yes, who's this?
I'm sorry, this is Stephen again. Just very quickly, there's something that Ken said that was so true. When I left the organization, there was something that came over me, and it took me a little while to figure it out. But what it was I felt connected to humanity and the planet. And it dawned on me as a witness, I never felt connected to anybody other than witnesses. It was always that us versus them mentality, right? We're the us, we're the witnesses, everybody else is the them, and we really didn't give a rat's behind about them unless they were planning on becoming a witness. But once I left, I felt connected to humanity. I saw people completely as brothers and sisters, and if we can do something to help a person, then we should do it. And I felt more of a connection to the earth than I ever did. And that's because I took away that judgmental aspect that you're talking about.
Yes, but I want to thank you so much, Stephen, for adding that. I too felt the same way. I didn't look at it. I didn't analyze it, but it completely made me me. All of a sudden, I felt an affinity to the earth, to all things, to butterflies, trees, other people, dogs. Everybody was a sentient spiritual being to me. And like you said, in Watchtower, they have you so immersed in that cult programming. You have no idea that you're not even you in that cult at all. So thank you for that input. Very good. I appreciate that. So does anybody else want to comment before I go ahead and continue with characteristics of judgmental person? Okay, further in characteristics of judgmental persons, the judgmental people do tend to see others through their own personal biases and through their own preconceived prejudices. I'd really appreciate whoever's making noise would mute their phone. I know you probably don't realize how loud it is. Judgmental people tend to have little or no empathy for others. That means they only see them according to their judgment. They don't seem to have the ability to put their own feelings and judgment aside and try to put themselves in the other person's place. Like maybe, how is it for a single mother with no help and no money and no car struggling? You know, instead of gossiping and calling her a whore and saying she's after everybody's husband, you know, maybe there are things that you don't know. And that's kind of cool. Another characteristic of judgmental people is they tend to devalue another person by criticizing them or judging them in order to feel superior. Any thoughts, questions? Star 6, this show is for you.
Well,
It also says that these... Go ahead.
Henry, this is Rick. I just figured I'd jump in here. Just talking about judgmental. When I was a ministerial servant and I had a business, I had a number of Jehovah's Witnesses working for me, about 15 of them. And I was really busy. And it was very difficult for me to get the magic number of 10 hours in a month. I mean, I was really struggling. So one night at the meeting, I was singing the song with my family, and I got a tap on my shoulder. It was an elder. And he said, Rick, we're going to remove you tonight as a ministerial servant. I mean, I was shocked. I mean, it was unreal. I didn't mind being a ministerial servant. I was a liturgious servant and the ministry school conductor. And, you know, it's like, you're going to remove me tonight? Yeah, we're going to remove me tonight. So this is while I'm singing the song. You know, you want to talk about being kind of rude and timing being off. That wasn't the time to say that. So anyways, I went into the room afterwards. My family, now we had 5 little children, mind you. We were all small kids. And so my wife is waiting with the kids. And they're telling me that, you know, because I'm not getting my time in, that I'm going to be removed. So, you know, I didn't really, at that point, I like being a ministerial servant, but I figured, well, fine, let it go. But the thing was, a lot of the witnesses that were working for me, they wouldn't work on Saturday because they wanted to go out in service. And we were open Saturday. It was one of the busiest days of the week. So I had to be at the shop on Saturday, and they were all out in service. So I told them, you know, I can't get the brothers to work. So, you know, they didn't really take that to heart at all. And then they started lambasting my wife, saying that, you know, she's not getting her time in either. I said, my wife, you know, she has 5 little kids that she takes care of. You got to take that into consideration. She can't, you know, she was getting time in, but she just wasn't getting in what they thought would be significantly good. So they said, you know, she needs to get more time in. And, you know, you have to tell her that. I'm saying, well, why don't you tell her that? So they said, no, it's up to the husband. The husband has to go to his wife and say that. So at that juncture, I didn't care whether they removed me or not. But, you know, you talk about being judgmental. Here they are judging a man who I'm letting the witnesses work on Saturday. So I'm sacrificing my time in service so they could go out. They didn't take that into consideration. Then they're, you know, judging my wife with 5 little kids. Well, why can't she get out? I mean, the chore of getting 5 children, Amory, you've been there. You know what I'm talking about. To get 5,
I do.
To get 5 children ready, you know, braid their hair, you know, press their dresses, polish their shoes. Come on. It's a hassle. But they take none of that into consideration. All they can do is judge and chastise.
Oh my God. That is so mean, because you had to take up the slack of the brothers that wanted to be spiritual and look good to the congregation, which made you look bad, and then they want to pick on your wife. Oh my God. They are so evil and ugly, my brother.
And then what was going around too is that Rick is too materialistic. I have to tell you, Anne Marie, I have never been materialistic. I never have been. I mean, I will tell you from the bottom of my heart that I've never been materialistic. But that was the rumors, floating around. But Rick's got his business, and he's very materialistic. And many times, I mean, for payroll, and I had, like I say, 15 brothers working, and I would pay them. I mean, I made sure they were paid every week. And there were weeks when I wouldn't take a week's pay because I had to pay them. That's what happens in the world of small business. And none of that was ever taken into consideration. And, rather than be so judgmental, if they could have just said, geez, Rick, we got it. We understand it. My goodness gracious, you're trying to do the best you can. You got 5 kids. You got witnesses working for you. To do what you can. You just do what you can. They would never say anything like that. Are you kidding?
They're so judgmental, and they didn't even call you aside and speak to you privately. They just did it in such an unloving, unkind way where you couldn't even fight back. Okay. I'm sorry that happened to you, Rick. I'm so sorry.
Well, I'm over it now.
That was wrong.
In fact, I'll tell you what. In fact, let me tell you something, Anne-Marie. If you're being removed as a servant, and they announce it at the meeting that, Brother Farron is no longer a ministerial servant. So talk about the gossip bin, to talk about talk about judgmentalism. Now, what do you think when they hear Brother Farron is no longer a ministerial servant? The first thing that jumps in the mind of a witness, being as judgmental as they are, the first thing they would say is, "Oh, geez, see, Brother Farron, he must have a woman on the side. He must have something going." That's the first thing they would think. So I told him in that meeting, I said, "Now look it, I know you're going to announce it that Brother Farron is no longer a ministerial servant. So here's what I would ask, and in fact, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm not mad. I'm not going to, start waving my arms up and down and shouting all over the place. But I'm gonna stand at the Kingdom Hall door as people are exiting the Kingdom Hall, and I'm gonna tell them the reason why I'm being removed, because they're gonna start a rumor here that Brother Farron was a little promiscuous. Seriously, I know what my congregation was like. They were like that. So I stood there that night, and everyone leaving, I made sure I stayed until the last witness left. And I'd say, "Hey, Sister Nelson, I just want to let you know I'm being removed because I wasn't getting enough time in. That's all. I just couldn't get time and just kind of busy." And I would tell everybody that. And, they got that. So, because I knew, I know to this day that all Kingdom Halls, Anne Marie, are a hotbed of gossip. They gossip like crazy.
Gossip. They put the G in gossip. Well, my brother, I think that what you did was a very smart thing to do, and it's very, very sad that they put you in that position, and it was very smart to make sure everybody knew. Like I said, when I told you when I got put out, not one person came up to me, called me, and asked me what really happened. And maybe 2 weeks after I got put out, one brother, who I don't even know if he was a real brother or not, because he was very rarely at the meetings, but he was the husband of a faithful witness. And he took it upon himself to come by my house by himself and say, "Anne Marie, I've been hearing a lot of things about you and why you were put out. And I just want to hear it from you, if you care to tell me." So I told him the truth. And he listened to everything I said. He didn't have one question. And then he said, the way he said it, he said, "I thought so." The way he said it was, I thought so.
Yeah, no, just their demeanor, just the way they say things are like, geez. But Anne Marie, there's a brother here, a man I should say, Keith Silver. He's writing in on YouTube here, and you know how rumors start, like we were just saying. So he says the rumor would start. Brother Farron is running a brothel. I mean, they would come up.
Wait,
They would come up with all kinds of stuff.
my.
You know, you just don't. I mean, that's what it does. I heard some rumors that there's no way I would say that brother or sister would be doing that. But you know, you said at the outset of your show, for some reason, it might be in human nature. Sometimes all of us will kind of shoot from the hip and not ask questions. You kind of just believe everything is being said to you without finding out what the facts are. And so many brothers and sisters have been sold down the river. And look at that woman, Nicole, that came on even earlier. And, you know, they were saying she's babysitting for this couple and she wasn't supposed to be, and making that story up. If they would just get the facts, it would be good, but they don't get the facts, Anne-Marie.
Oh, why get the facts when rumors and gossip and judgmentalism is just so much more fun?
Well, you would think that you would really think, really, this is what, even now that I'm out of it, and I've been out, I was, Satan kicked me out of his organization back in 2005. But now that I'm out and I look back on the whole thing, the witnesses had this position that they took to really gossip beyond what would be ever necessary. You know, I can see if something was really serious and something happened, and if you knew it was a fact, and then it spreads around even in the secular world. But, you know, even in the secular world, in the business world that I'm in, people don't gossip like they do with the witness world. They don't gossip about each other. But, geez, that's all that took place in there was gossip, and a lot of information that was not factual. Good topic, Anne-Marie. Keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you so much, my brother. It's just real scary how many lives have been ruined, and just judgmentalism, criticism, and the gossip. You put those three things together, and not even counting all the other ugly, horrible, evil things that go on in the organization. It is just sick and twisted every which way you look. So I was wondering if I could just go a little bit more. I have a little bit more to go. My brother, how much time do I have left?
Well, I'll tell you what, take another 10 minutes. Don't worry about it. Another 10, 15 minutes is fine. Go ahead.
Oh, you're so kind. 1:11. So what really kind of bothered me, everyone, is there are a couple scriptures. I don't mean to preach, so I'll just refer to the scriptures in the Bible that I found, just 3, that have to do with judgment. At John 7:24, Jesus said, "Do not judge others by their appearance or according to your personal interpretation." That's John 7:24, and I think it kind of hits the nail on the head. Don't judge others by their appearance and according to your personal interpretation. Matthew 7:1 all the way through 5, I think, Jesus says, "Do not judge, lest you be judged." Then there's Proverbs 18, verse 13. I love this one. "When anyone replies to a matter before he hears the facts, it is foolish and a humiliation to him." That's the New World Translation. So if you hear a story or hear, "Oh, did you know what I heard? Do you know what I heard? So-and-so did and whatever," and anyone replies to a matter before he hears the facts, it is foolishness and a humiliation to him. Proverbs 18:13, New World Translation. Now, Matthew 7:1 through 5, that's the one about the rafter. Now, I don't have my Bible with me, but Matthew 7:1 through 5 basically says, why do you look at your brother and say, "Oh, let me extract that splinter or that little piece of wood in your eye," when look, there is a rafter in your own eye? So to me, that means that those that tend to focus on the faults of others, the shortcomings of others, means you're not focused at all on your own shortcomings because you might have a lot worse going on. And it's all about, to me, once again, being willing to look at yourself, understanding you don't know everything, understanding you don't know what you don't know. You know what? What about the golden rule? Treat others the way you want to be treated. You don't want to be judged and gossiped about, about personal things in your life when people don't really know what's going on. So, once again, how does being a judgmental person affect a person? What really got me when I was starting to do a little research is I found out that judging others actually harms our mental health by fostering negative emotions, and by being judgmental, it perpetuates a mindset of comparison. Comparison that distracts you from your own sense of well-being and your own peace of mind. When you're busy judging others and being critical of others, you tend to actually believe what you're judging, because if you didn't really believe it, you wouldn't perpetuate it. And I'm going through something with a personal person in my life that has, among other things, called me a gaslighter, a game player, a liar, just everything negative you could think of, except the B word. And I'm like, okay, but not one example. This person has just basically let himself get sick with his own anger and his own judgment and his own assessment, and he just believes whatever judgment he's come up with. And it's a sad thing. It's a sad thing. So we're gonna get near the end of the show. We've had a lot of really great callers. I would like to invite anyone, whether you've commented or not, especially if you have not yet commented, please feel free to hit *6 and share your thoughts. *6, anyone, the floor is yours.
Hi, it's Grace from Sweden.
Hello, Grace. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Good. Happy to hear your voice. I was wondering if you were going to speak up today.
No, I was just thinking about this topic. I think many times it comes from they envy, they are jealous, or they are afraid of you. And the reason might be, like, they might think about Rick, why does he have so many children? And I have only 2 children, perhaps, and they go round in their head thinking maybe they have a good sex life. My wife doesn't want to have sex with me so much. I only have 2 children. Why? And how come Annie Marie? She's a single person. Still, she's polite and takes care of her children. But I can't even manage, even though I'm married and I don't have so much. I have a nice car, and still I can't manage. Or she's more pretty than me, or anything like that. Usually, it comes from those kind of smearing campaigns. It comes from that they feel that they are less than you. So, and all this, when they can't give an example also, that's typical. It's just a smear campaign, so.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I did write down somewhere that part of a person's need to be critical or to be judgmental is that, for a sad reason, is that it makes them feel better about themselves. And that's just sad. I mean, when you feel good about
yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Were you trying to continue a comment? Brother, please hold 1 second. Sister Grace, were you trying to continue your comment?
I think I lost my thought, but never mind.
Okay, I just wanted to add that I did write down in my research that judgmental people do tend to devalue others in order to make themselves feel superior. Thank you so much for your comment. Brother, would you please like to, what?
Now I remember what I was going to say. It can even be that they are yellows because you have confidence. They notice, why is she so confident, or why is Rick so confident? And they can be even yellows when they notice that somebody has a better self-confidence than they have. And that can also be a reason for starting a smear campaign. I'm finished now. I will be quiet now. Thank you.
Yeah, don't worry about being quiet. No, everything that is brought out, I think, is important. Brother, are you still there? Would you still have your thought in your mind? Or any person who is waiting to speak, please speak up now. *6. Okay, if anybody doesn't want to speak up, I guess we can end the show, because unless anybody, sometimes people pop in at the last minute, right when I'm ready to say goodbye. One last time, anyone want to poke in with a question, a thought, a comment? *6. Okay, I want to thank everyone for coming in to this show, Touched by the Tentacles, on this day. It is September 7th, 2024. This is the show Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower. I want to thank Stefan, King of the Dots, Nicole. This is the second time she called in. Yay, Nicole. I want to thank Steve from New Jersey. I want to thank Ken and Rick and Grace from Sweden. I want to thank you all for taking the time to share your thoughts, because you add so much to the show. We do need to go now to Rick and JW World News. Rick?
Well, hello, Anne-Marie, and welcome into our news coming up here very shortly. But Anne-Marie, good job tonight. Very good job tonight. Lots of participation. And what I do see here at the 6 screens is, as we get into the fall and, of course, in the winter, our audience grows. So we did have, we certainly appreciate the new ones calling in. We also have a lot of new ones listening in on YouTube. So it's all good, Anne-Marie. You're doing a great job. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. So anyways, I just want to bring up, folks, that stay tuned. We got the news coming up next. Stay on this channel, this YouTube channel, as well as on my Facebook page, Rick Farron Facebook. We want to thank those people in there, too, for the comments that they have been writing and listening. We thank you for coming in. We do have a number of programs coming up tonight. Like I say, JW World News is up next. And then at around 9 o'clock, 9:15, we have D&C. That's Dick and Constance. They're from Jehovah's Witnesses. And they have a program that will be beginning tonight around 9 o'clock. They're doing a great job, and we really look forward to their program. And you can call in, as you did in this program as well, and give your thoughts. So that's Connie and Dick coming up around 9 o'clock, 9:15 tonight. And then, if you're pacing the floor and you don't know what to do around 11 o'clock tonight and you can't sleep, well, by all means, listen in to Tale of Two Witnesses with Gilbert Gonzalez and his brother Jesse right here on the 6 screens. In fact, sometimes that program goes all night long. So stay with us. Friends, thank you. I want to tell you, I'm very pleased with what I see happening here at the 6 screens. We've started 20 years ago, but we're still here. We've never missed a Saturday night. And I have to tell you, the audience is really growing. This is where former Jehovah's Witnesses come to talk, right here on the 6 screens Telenetwork. So we're going to end this program, start our new program, JW World News. We appreciate you coming in. All right.